So you'll probably notice that I haven't posted anything in a while, and that's for obvious reasons, because of the incredibly saddening death of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. And I didn't really think it was appropriate to post in a time of national mourning, or record for that matter, so I haven't. In any case, one must move on with a stiff upper lip as best as one can. So today I am going to be talking about the Apache, specifically British variant, and specifically the new AH-64E, and its capabilities, what it really brings to the table. So for those who don't know, and you probably should know, Apache is an American-made attack helicopter, and it really is legendary. When one thinks of attack helicopter, particularly in the modern day, this is what one thinks of. So it is the most modern attack helicopter that we have that is in service, in the West at least, if not the world. And it, since its introduction in 2001 to service, has been incredibly valuable. There are some really incredible stories of the Apache in Afghanistan, in Libya. Its ability to, as a battle space asset, as a battle winning asset, is huge. So it really has been valuable, and it's really sort of defined what an attack helicopter has become in the 21st century, and I think that's rather important. In any case, we're going to go over the British Apache today. So, as we've said, it's an American-made design, as it were, but it was brought to the UK on license and further developed or modified for British use by AgustaWestland to create the Apache Mk1. But recently we have had a rather huge update, which is turning the Apache Mk1 into a new variant, the AH-64E, and the E in that is elite. So the idea of this is to sort of really bring the idea of the Apache into the real 21st century, as it were. Make it more lethal, agile, survivable, and most importantly, I'd say, more integrated and more apt for army fighting, I guess. So the key really to AH-64E's improved capabilities are its abilities to integrate with other ground and air assets to really optimize battle space coordination, and I'd say largely sharing information so that one can strike the enemy better. And in a lot of cases that's before forces are targeted themselves. So it increases range and strike capability to the point that attack helicopters, as they traditionally would have had to do, don't have to put themselves within harm's way. They don't have to put themselves at a range or in a position, let's say, where they are open to attack as well. And that's ever improved with battle space coordination with other assets. So the Apache itself, it's designed to find and destroy ground units. So that's mainly air defense units, tanks, and armored vehicles. The Apache has utility beyond its primary role. It's meant to be one of these sort of nodes, a nexus point within the communication network of the army and actually of British fighting forces as a whole. But beyond that, it's capable of really rather a lot of stuff. So ISR, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, target acquisition for other vehicles, I guess, and itself, command and control, escort forces, that sort of thing. And it's incredibly useful. So it's incredibly versatile, both as a node in a network and as a potent weapon itself. And the Apache can operate in all weathers, day, night. It really has enhanced the Army's air maneuver capability and the ability, the sort of link between air and ground forces, which is incredibly important if you're developing, I guess you'd say, an integral fighting force. So, something that's distinctive about the Apache is the longbow radar. So the longbow radar, if you see the early versions of the Apache, they don't have this. The longbow radar is that big bulbous thing on the top of the helicopter. It's located above the main rotor blades, so the Apache can use this. It is a radar, as I've said, to detect and classify up to 256 potential targets, and it can display 128 of these potential targets to the crew, and it can prioritize the top 16 threats. And it can do this all in a matter of seconds, and that is, to an extent, a lot of what the AH-64E, the Elite, has really been about. The upgrade has been about its ability to use modern computing power as well, because that has obviously advanced since the Mark I was created. So it carries a mix of weapons, but I'll go into that in a minute. But effectively, it's not an absolute load of weapons, but it's precisely what one would need for, I guess, any purpose. It's got real versatility. So it's got certainly choice and flexibility, but it really is also minimal, as it were. It only carries what it needs to, and what it carries is devastating to the enemy, so that's incredibly important. The longbow radar that it's equipped with, it uses optical and thermal imaging sights, so it can, as I've said, sort of visually identify potential targets, and the pilot and the aircraft at night can sort of proceed with operations as fully as in day, as well as low visibility conditions, which you can expect if you've got, particularly in Afghanistan or Libya, you have certain battle space needs. You know, the kicking up of dust, that was a major one. So it's got massively improved visibility, even more improved than Mark I. So, as well, range and endurance can be increased effectively using this, using both the radar and these wing-mounted fuel tanks, which basically provide a more persistent presence across a wider area. So it gives one more range, and it gives it more durability. And to increase the survivability of the rotary wing platform, the Apache is fitted with, really state-of-the-art and fully integrated defensive aid suite to effectively protect the aircraft and crew. So that's armor. Again, it is an attack helicopter. It's putting itself in harm's way. And I believe this was, I can't remember what I was reading, but they were saying you've got this was for America, the Abrams, which is the tank of tanks. It is the tank of the ground. And then you've got the Warthog, which is the, tank of the sky. But then the Apache sort of bridges that gap in having air capability, but also that removed ability to engage from, I guess, height, and in a unique manner. So, to move on a little bit from that, in regard to specifications, the AH-64E entered service, I believe, in early 2022. It's got a maximum speed of 330 kilometers per hour, and the engines it uses are two General Electric T700 GE701D turbo shafts. So I believe that's different from, I think, the Mark I used the Rolls-Royce Systems Turbo Mecha Micro Turbo. I'm not quite sure about that, but I'll have to check on that at a later date. Anyway, it's got a maximum weight of 7,746 kilograms, utilizing a crew of 2. It's got a radius of action, which is sort of how far it can operate, of 160 nautical miles. That's not a small range. It's got a height of 4.9 meters and a length of 17.57 meters. And its main rotor, the large rotor on top of it, has a diameter of 14.63 meters. So it's got a really quite impressive main rotor. It's incredible to look at, really. In regard to armament, because that's what people really find interesting, as I was saying, it is not necessarily minimal, but it's exactly what you need. perhaps you could even say minimalist. So it can employ 16 Hellfire missiles, 76 Hydra 70 rockets, and 1,200 rounds of 30mm cannon rounds, effectively. So the Hellfire missile, we've sort of looked at that before in regard to Brimstone. There was a proposal that Brimstone and Starstreak could be equipped on the Apache, although I think that is only theoretical. But Hellfire does an excellent job, an excellent, incredible, legendary air-to-ground capability. Really notorious missile for its use in Afghanistan. And then the Hydra 70 rocket, we've also talked about before. So that can be upgraded, adapted. You can add the APKWS to that, and that's not, merely unguided. So it really does have a lot of adaptability in that sense, or at least configurability. And then the 1,230mm cannon rounds are just incredibly potent. So it uses a sort of a chain gun, which it has beneath it, which it can sort of, if this is the main body of the helicopter, it can sort of maneuver around to find the target. So it's pretty impressive. I think there's also some sort of air-to-air, so helicopter to other air unit, probably other helicopters in this scenario, probably not actual fixed-wing aircraft, but it's got some air-to-air capability, being able to install air-to-air missiles on the end of its weapons platforms. So in regard to where it actually holds its armaments, it's got two arms that reach out from the sides. So you've got Hellfires incorporated first, then you have the Hydra 70 rockets, and then I believe on the end you can get some air-to-air missiles, and then the chain gun is beneath that. So effectively, so long as it is pointing roughly in the direction of its target, and so long as the sensors can actually achieve target lock, it can fire with huge firepower on absolutely anything with versatile armaments. So as we've said, it's got the chain gun, which is probably used for, more anti-personnel roles. You've got the rockets, which may be guided or unguided dependent upon configurability, but as we've said, those can have a plethora of roles. And then Hellfire, which is really made for anti-vehicle and I guess you'd say static infrastructure on a small scale, which was exactly what was desired in Afghanistan. So I think I'm going to leave it there because I realise I'm droning on a bit, but it might take me a little while to get back into the swing of this, but I shall do my best. So good to have a video after some time. Thank you very much.